Naomi Osaka. She was hit with a $15,000 fine for skipping post-match interview for her mental health. I've always liked Naomi Osaka just because of how she embraced Coco. That I think it was a year or two ago. Coco, I don't remember her last name, but she was like 15 years old, tennis star, doing amazing. And that's something we had never, and she was a black girl. That's something we had never seen before. Then she went against Naomi and lost. And instead of Naomi taking the interview, she allowed Coco to interview with her because that's an amazing run for a 15-year-old girl to play basically her, her peer and somebody she can actually look up to. But Naomi really stands for a lot of things, and she takes her platform and uses it for a lot of positive things. So recently she announced prior to the 2021 French Open that she would not be engaging with the press due to mental health concerns, and cited how the media has often mishandled questions in their press conferences. What I wanted to ask you guys was, how important is mental health? Because I'm going to get to another thing that happened with Kyrie Irving yesterday. How important is it for the media to understand that athletes are still human beings? And how important is it for fans to understand that athletes are human beings? And basically, what other options do the athletes have? Because a few years ago, we also looked at Marshawn Lynch doing an interview. The only thing he's saying is, I'm only here so I won't get fined. So just wanted to hear y'all's opinion about this and everything else.
Man, I'm gonna hop in here first because there's additional context to her saying, like, some of the reasons why she said that she didn't want to take it. One of the reasons was that it fuels some of her self-doubt and causes her to have some issues preparing for the next match and just messing with her psyche. And I can understand that, but I'm on the side of, there's a cost to be a boss. And if you want to be paid millions of dollars, if you want to compete at the highest level, then the trade-off is that people get to ask you questions about your performance, how you prepare. I do agree that sometimes the media might ask like stupid questions or questions trying to antagonize people. But if you actually listen to most sports interviews, which most people don't, right? Just like actually consistently listen, more than half of the time, there are mundane, typical questions like, what were you thinking when this went down? How did you prepare? And those are important questions for athletes who are trying to train and understand and build. You know what I mean? Like, think about all of the classic moments that came from those interviews with athletes, Allen Iverson, with Kobe, like all of the things that were said, right? And for an athlete to be like, no, I'm not going to do any at all. I'll take whatever, fine, because y'all are messing with my ability to prepare and sowing in self-doubt. Then it makes me question, well, if you can't handle getting some questions from the media, how much do you deserve to be at this platform? Because that's a part of the cost. Like that's the fee to get in. If you don't want to answer media, then you probably shouldn't be playing on a national platform where people want to ask and hear about you. And for someone like her, who has such an important voice, not just about tennis, but overall for like culturally, her impact as, a Black, half Asian person, someone that can speak up for women in sports. People want to hear from her. It's not like she just any old body. Like, she's very intelligent. When she speaks, people listen. Like, she has a serious platform. So I'm kind of like, I understand the mental health piece, right? And so to me, it's just like, okay, pick and choose what you're going to answer. Pick and choose the times where you're like, you know what, I can't do it today. But to just completely be like, nah, I'm not going to do it, I feel like is a little jaded towards the people who are like, yo, I've been playing my whole life to have the opportunity to be on this stage and get asked questions about my performance, because that's the cost of being a world athlete.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump in real quick. I found it to be important because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's one of the things that popped up in my head. It was like, man, it's important there. But I hear what you're saying, Stanley, with the like, hey, this is the price to get in. This is the cost to get in. The thing about that, though, is it fair? You know, like, is it something that, and I know people are going to be like, life ain't fair. You know, I get that part. But as a regular human being, like, people are like, you got bullying to kids with social media, and that stuff carries with them. You know what I'm saying? So we look at kids and like, okay, boom, these kids right here are like consistently being bullied. In a sense of the athletes are like Naomi Osaka is like 23 years old. In a lot of people's eyes, she's an adult, but she's still looked upon as being a child, and say at the late part. Mentally a child, I guess you can say. Is that fair for a newer athlete that's getting this status and because of their talent? Because, I mean, talent, you can't deny talent. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's good and they're just beating everybody and not good at speaking with the media, like, that's something they're going to have to work on, or, you know, be able to pick and choose. Like, okay, I don't want to do this now. You think it's fair that they get fined or, you know, for doing that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, the other side of it is that there was a time for women's tennis where they couldn't get the press. Nobody wanted to hear from them because they're like, you're women athletes. We don't care about what you have to say, right? So that's technically not that long ago. You're talking about the 80s and even getting into the 90s, where they begging like, please come interview us. Please put us on the platform. Let us vocalize. And now fast forward, it's 2021 and someone's like, I don't want to completely do it at all for this whole tournament. And it's like, okay, you know, that's why I feel like there should be a better compromise. Like the one extreme and the other extreme, to me, is stupid. Like, you shouldn't not be able to, you know, like to just completely cut it off for like a whole tournament. To me is wrong, but it's also wrong to have them constantly asking you stupid questions they already know the answers to, questions intentionally meant to trigger you, right? Like, that's wrong too, because mental health is important. So it's like, how do you find that middle ground, right? Like, maybe you limit some of the conversations. Maybe you give them, be like, all right, during the tournament, you got 3 passes for when you don't want to be get interviewed, and you use one of those passes, you don't get no fine. You know, that's your mental health break. But just some kind of in between, because there's still an important aspect of sports, being able to hear from athletes after a win, after a loss, especially for the folks that are athletes in training that are looking at those opportunities to learn, because they know they can't reach those athletes. So that's the time where they could be like understanding and taking notes, like, oh, okay, that's how she was breaking this down. That's how she was thinking, or whatever. So it's both sides of it is important. Mental health is important, but also giving athletes a platform to talk about, you know, their sport is important too.
I think we got that's a good outlook to have when you say, you know, cost to be the boss. But also, I think that, like you said, it does have to be a fair trade out there. But also, I think something has to change because you got a lot of people don't want to talk. Oh, they just don't want to talk at that one point. You know, that specific point. They may just, you know, you come in, like, I'm putting myself in the position of an athlete. They're coming right off of winning their match to sit in front of people, and you're probably tired, like exhausted physically and mentally, because most of the time, not just tennis, but in most sports, it's a mental chess game. So then you got to go and answer questions like, I don't think, like $15,000 fine, and then also them saying that she may possibly face, I think they're saying here that she may possibly face expulsion if might possibly face expulsion if she doesn't do the rest of the media. I don't think media should be something that you force a person to do. If it's such a big part of it, have them have a representative go up, answer some questions. Because some of the stuff they ask them be some BS to the point where they're giving away, like, you really asking me what type of strategy I'm going to take? Like, that's really none of your business because now I'm being vulnerable to whoever else. I think they really need to figure that out and probably kind of change that around. Maybe not have as many. Man, talk to them folks a day later. Give them some time instead of rushing up to them with, you know what I'm saying, reporter cameras and stuff. I always love what Marshawn Lynch did because he brought light to like, hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I think, you know what, if they really, that's something, I'll be honest, if you really want me to talk to the media after my game, I'm probably going to go come up there and be an asshole too. I hate to say it, but I probably will be. We've kind of seen with Kyrie where he's set up there and he's not really, to most people, you're going to be like, man, he's been an asshole. Why don't you just answer? But really, he's kind of like, man, the stuff you asked me is really some BS. Let's talk about what I want to talk about if I'm going to be here, you know? But like I watch a lot of UFC and boxing and them guys come off of like getting like brutally beating up people to answer media questions. And you're just kind of like, bruh, like, come on.
To say, just go take care of yourself, man.
Yeah. Like
get patched up real quick.
At some point, I think, and then those are grown men, and then you're looking at this 23-year-old where it's like, look, I just can't deal with it at this point, you know. So I think at some point something has to change. Is media important? I think so, but I think they made it more than what it should be, and something needs to change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that, like Steve said, I think it is important, and like Stanley said as well. Because I hear you, Stanley. Because I do think it's an instrumental part of the experience of having somebody who's performing at the top level, not just in sports but in anything, to have some kind of commentary for those people to kind of talk about their success story and how they got there, how they managed being there. Because I do feel like, just relating it back to music, I feel like that's something that we miss from a lot of artists. Specifically somebody like, so we just had the Shop episode with Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. I could count on one hand how many interviews I've seen with Jay-Z, like throughout his career. And he's supposed to be like the pinnacle, like the top. And it's like, we can't even hear from the top how to get there. Or even if you think about his wife, Beyonce is the pinnacle, the top. And we don't have no interviews from Beyonce. We don't know what the fuck she even got on her mind if she don't make a song. And so on the one hand, I'm like, yes, I would like to hear from them people. But then I guess from their perspective, it's like, if they don't want to do it, then I can't make them do it. I can't make them folks come out here and talk to me if they don't want to talk to me. Eventually they might start to open up, I guess. But I don't know. I think that the whole finding people and trying to punish people for not doing it, I think that's some bullshit. And I think that the people who put that into place need to humble themselves because they feel like they're entitled to your voice. They feel like I don't necessarily agree when you said, Stanley, that that's like the cost to getting there. I think the cost to getting there is, like Tommy said, just being the best athlete in the world. And so if I'm this good, I mean, how you gonna not put me in the tournament?
Well, my argument to that though is that at any level, regardless of it's sports, music, business, the higher up you go, the more you have to be open to critiques and people evaluating what you do. If you want to be the CEO of a company, that means people are going to ask you questions and you got to represent the company, that all your actions and your moves are going to be judged and critiqued. So my thing is, if you want to be at the top of anything, then a part of accepting that responsibility and that money is taken on, because it can't all be glory. You know what I mean? Like if it just because you're the best athlete doesn't mean that you don't have to pay additional costs to participate. And one of those costs to participate is people want to hear from you. People are going to have questions. People have expectations related to media responsibilities. Now, does some of those responsibilities need to change? Absolutely. but it's a part of being at the top of anything, is that people are going to want to hear from you. People are going to critique you a lot closer because you are the best.
Yes, I agree with that. But whether or not those people get access is still up to you. Like, they're going to want to do all of those things. Like, people going to naturally be like, oh, this person got a lot of spotlight on them. I want to see what's going on. But whether or not they actually get that access, it's still up to you as the person. Like, you can still be like, fuck you niggas, I'm closing the door. Like, you don't have to fucking open the door for them. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody should have that much say in whether or not your door is open or closed. Like, you can close the door. It may not be supposed to be all glory, like you said, but it's a lot of people that just don't like to talk to people. And so they're not going to talk to you. Like Marshawn Lynch. Like, he just all right, bro. No, you're not getting this access. But then he go off and do like all these other little commercials and shit. Like, it's a different access, but it's just not the access that he wanted to do. So give those people, like you said, give them an alternative. Maybe like they have like the passes or something like that. Like, that could help a lot. But I just don't think they get to decide, you got to do it this way. This is the way that we're going to get our access to you.
Well, the other problem is the media is essentially old white men. So that's where a lot of that is coming from. So that's why I'm on the other side of it too, is just like they like, this is what you have to do. And if you don't do it, we're going to fine you. Yeah. And we pay your salary. And it's just like, and that sounds for that reason, I'm
too like slavery to me, for me to be like, that's okay. So I'm like, fuck these niggas and fuck these hoes. But,
man, so
they just don't have the deal.
I love it, man. Naomi's response to the fine was, I hope you guys like donate the money to something with mental health. So that would be awesome.
It would be.
I understand both sides.
They can't do that shit.
They not. That's going to go to their pocket. Yeah, right. This going to go to the French Open Fund. But I think it's cool. Like the discussion having about that. I understand both sides, because on one side is to honestly, like you were saying, Steve, I mean, not Steve, but Stanley, a few years ago, nobody would be watching the sport. So it's really just to, that access and everything is important for the sport. But on the other hand, you got the athletes who are like top-notch human beings. Like, the top of a human being are these world-class athletes. And, just how we need mental days, they do as well.